Hello everyone, this is Mr. Storm, and today we are going to work on a brand new project. We are going to create a website where we can take notes, and those notes will stay long term. So this will actually probably help you in other classes as well. You can just write your notes out and it'll stay in your web browser. So what we're going to do is let's create a new project, a new REPL. It's going to be an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript project. We will call it, I'm going to call mine Notes Website. You can call yours whatever you want. Alrighty, let's talk about the HTML. So what we want for this website is we're going to have a header up here with an icon, and we are going to have basically a button that when we click the button, it's going to create a text box that we can add notes to. And there's going to be a delete button inside the text box. We'll be able to delete our notes as we go if we want to. Let me create or open up another tab so I can see my preview. Beautiful. We'll smush this out of the way. The other thing I need to do is I need to grab the images for this project. Let me find my images. So it's these three here: delete, edit, and notes. I'm going to grab those and drop them into my file section. I actually want them inside of a folder. So I'm going to create a new folder called images, and I will drag those into the images folder just so it's nice and organized. So we have delete, edit, and notes. Beautiful. Okay. All right, so now we're set up. We're ready to go. We can start programming this site. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this hello world text. We don't want that at all. What we do want, though, is we want a div. We're going to create a new div. And inside that div, we want an H1. We want a button. And let's create another div inside that div. And inside that div, we're going to create a paragraph element. Okay, so that's the structure of our HTML. This top div here, this is going to be the main container that holds everything inside of our website. So we're going to give it a class name equal to container. Okay, class equals container. This H1, we want to put the word notes in there, but first we actually want an image. So let's create an image element here, set it equal to, image element, set the source equal to images, and this is going to be the notes.png. Okay, let's make sure we close our image element here. And then inside, or after that notes image, we're going to hit space and type notes. So now when I take a look at my preview, I should see notes, the notes image, and the word notes. And I have a button down here that has nothing in it. Let's add some stuff to the button. First, we want to add a class to this button. Class equals btn. All right. And then inside the button, we want an image as well. So image src equals images. Let's do the edit png. Nope, not delete. Edit.png. There we go. And we'll hit space and type create notes. So now we have a button with the image there. It says create notes. Perfect. Okay. All right. Now our paragraph element. Our paragraph element is going to, this is going to be where we type our notes. Okay. So let's put, let's just put some text in the paragraph element now so we can see it. We're going to modify this heavily when we're done. But this div here that has our paragraph element inside, we actually need to call this, we need to give it a class as well. We're going to call it notes-container. That's going to be important later on with our JavaScript. because this paragraph element that we're creating right now, this is actually going to be deleted. We're going to delete this whenever we're done with the final code. And you know what? We're going to put an image in here as well. Image source is going to equal images delete. Okay. Oh, so let's take a look. So our delete button is going to be inside of our text box, and we're going to be able to delete. Let's actually get rid of this text here. We're going to delete our text box whenever we click the delete button. That's basically what we want. Okay. One other thing we want to do is let's give this paragraph element a class called input, or class equals input hyphen box. That way we can style it the way we want it to. Alrighty, that is basically all of our HTML. So if we take a look here, we have our header section, we have our button, and we have our delete trash can thingy. Okay, let's do the CSS. Let's get into the CSS. There's not a lot of HTML, so let's focus on the CSS. We can do all of that in one video. Alrighty, so the first thing we want to do is get rid of that placeholder text. We don't want that. We do, however, want the Poppins font. So let's do the same thing we did last time. Let's go to fonts.google.com, search for Poppins, grab that, click Get Font, Get Embed Code, and let's copy this and paste it into the head section of our HTML. Easy enough. All right, so now we can use that Poppins font. So let's use the shorthand asterisk to style everything on our page. We'll set our margin to 0. We'll set our padding to 0. We'll set our font family to Poppins with a sans serif backup. And we'll change our box sizing to border box. Okay. Next, let's start styling the container. So if we look here, this div is our container. So if we start styling this container, it's going to style everything inside. Alrighty. So dot container. First, let's set the width to 100%. We'll set the minimum height to 100 VH. We'll set the background to be a linear gradient, 135 degrees rotation with this CF9AFF, a nice pink, and we'll do a nice light blue, 95C0FF. Okay, so that's going to be our background. Let's check that and see if that looks like we want it to look. And it does. Look at that. All right, we have a nice gradient going on. Next, let's change the color of the text to white. Let's set some padding on the top to be 4% and padding on the left to be 10%. Nice. So we have some padding here, padding there. Our text is now white. Okay, next we want to style this header inside of that div. So we can access that header by typing dot container space h1. It's going to access the h1 inside of the container. We'll set the display to flex, and we'll set align items to center. That is going to allow this notes here to be up in the middle of our image here, right? Because this is all on the same line. Notes and the image are all on the same line. We want notes to be centered vertically. And it is. Perfect. Okay. Next, let's change the font size to, let's say, 35 pixels. And let's change the font weight to 600. Okay. That'll make our font a little bit nicer looking. Okay, perfect. Next, let's style this image here. We want this image to be much, much smaller. So what we can do is container h1 image, because the image is inside the h1 and the h1 is inside the container. Okay, and all we have to do is set the width to be 60 pixels. Nice. Much smaller, much nicer. Okay, good. Next, let's start styling our button. I want the button to be a nice pill shape, meaning I want it to have rounded corners. I want it to have a nice background. And I want this create notes to be white, and this icon should be smaller. So there's a lot we need to do to this button. So let's go ahead and get started. Dot container button. So we're going to grab the button image inside of our container class. We'll say display, flex, align, items is going to be center. That's going to allow that text to be centered vertically. So let's do that. Yep, perfect. Okay. Let's create another linear gradient. I'm actually just going to copy so I don't have to type it all the way out, because I'm lazy. I actually don't want it to have a degree of rotation. I want this gradient to be just straight up and down. And instead of this pink color, let's use a kind of a purplish color, 9418FD. And then for this, let's use a darker purple, 571094. Nice, that looks really good. I like that. Okay. So let's change the font color, white. Let's change the font size to be 16 pixels. Let's change the, let's check that and see if that's what we like. Yeah, that's nice. Let's get rid of this outline here and the border and make it like rounded. So we can do that easily. We just write outline 0, border 0, border radius. Let's do 40 pixels. Hey, there we go. Nice round shape. But we need some padding because this stuff is not, it's kind of bleeding outside of there. So let's add some padding. We'll say 15 pixels by 25 pixels. Nice, much better, much, much better. Let's give it some margin so it's not so close to all the other elements. So we'll say margin 30 pixels by 0 by 20 pixels. And let's change the cursor style to pointer. Okay. Let's do that. All right, nice. Now when we hover over the button, our cursor changes and we have a nice spacing here. Okay, perfect. Last thing we need to do for this button is we need to change that button size. We don't want it to be so big, and we want to give us some space between the icon and the text. So let's do that here. Let's say dot container button. Let's change the display to no, actually, we don't need to change the display to flex. We just need to change the width to 25 pixels, and we'll change the margin right to 8 pixels. Okay, so let's do that. Oof, I've made a mistake somewhere. Container button image. We want to target the image, not just the container button, right? We want the image that's inside the button that's inside the container. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. So our icon is nice and small. We have a nice looking button. Perfect. Last thing we need to do is we want to format this input box so that it looks like a place where we can add some text. So let's target the input box class, input-box. And inside there, we're going to change the position to relative. We are going to change the width to 100%. We'll change the max width to 500 pixels, so it doesn't ever get bigger than that. We'll change the minimum height to 150 pixels, so it doesn't ever get smaller than that on the height. We'll change the background to white, so FFF. We'll change the color to 333, a nice charcoal gray. We'll give it some padding, 20 pixels. We'll give it a margin of 20 pixels by 0. We will get rid of the outline. And let's round the corners of this text box just a bit. Radius, so border radius will be 5 pixels. All right, there we go. We have a nice text box here with some rounded corners. Everything looks good. Next, we need to style this button. This button should not be in the middle of this text box. It should be down here in the corner. So let's go ahead and push that down to the corner. So input-box image. We'll set the width to 25 pixels, position to absolute. We'll say from the bottom it's going to be 15 pixels, and from the right it's going to be 15 pixels. And the cursor is going to be a pointer. Oh, it's over there on the top. Okay, that's fine. It should be, you know what? I'm fine with that. I actually kind of like that. So right here, boom, boom, looks nice. I don't know why it's going from the top when I said from the bottom, but I actually like it. So that's, oh, because I didn't put 15 pixels. That's why. There we go. Now it's in the bottom. So I actually like that better, down in the bottom. All right, that's what our app looks like. That's the HTML and CSS. Next time we will get into the JavaScript, which is a bit extensive, but I'm pretty sure we can figure it out together. All right, see you next time.